Hi, this is Eddie White again. I'm doing some interviews with riders for my motorcycle culture course, and today I'm talking with Isaac. Thanks a lot for helping me out with this, Isaac.
Oh, thank you for reaching out, man.
Okay, good. So let's begin. What is your name and age, please?
My name's Isaac Ramtula. I am 23.
Okay, and where do you live, Isaac?
I live up in the Phoenix area.
Okay, and when did you first start riding, or how long have you been riding?
I've been riding just about 2.5 years. I started 2.5 years ago is when I took my rider course.
Okay. Can you just tell us a little bit about that getting started and how that happened? Had you been thinking about it for a while, or was this kind of a sudden thing?
Um, I grew up around motorcycles. My uncle was in a motorcycle club, so I grew up around motorcycles. Always wanted motorcycles.
Right.
Um, Long story short, had some big changes in my life that were happening at the time,
Yeah.
and figured, why not do what I've always wanted to do and start riding and just go for it.
Okay, great. It sounds like you hit a point where the timing was right.
Exactly.
Good. Isaac, so what do you ride now? What type of bike you ride?
Right now, I ride a sports bike. I ride a '07 Hayabusa.
Okay. And what is that? Is that a Japanese bike?
Yeah, it's a Suzuki.
Yeah. Okay. And Isaac, as you probably know, I mean, some people feel a certain loyalty to a brand or a type of bike. I was talking to a rider a couple of days ago, and he's into Ducatis, and that's
hmm
that's what he likes. Do you have a sense of loyalty to that bike or a particular brand of bike?
Um, Me personally, I'm very loyal to Suzuki's. My first bike was a Suzuki. It was a Boulevard M50, which is a cruiser.
Yeah,
Um, but growing up, I've just Suzuki's always been more comfortable for me. I've always sat on them growing up, and when I was looking for a bike, I sat on all the different brands, and was like, no, this is the one for me. It's the most comfortable.
yeah.
So Suzuki's what I normally go with.
That's interesting and a good point. I remember when I first got actually it was I had a Suzuki Boulevard too, but I remember reading somewhere that when you're choosing a bike, something about when you sit on the bike that's right for you, you'll know what it is that you'll know
hmm
it's that one. It sounds like you had your butt on a bunch of different bikes and different models and found what you wanted. I have a question. I'm just thinking now. You went from cruisers to a sport bike. So you rode a cruiser before and then you moved to a sport bike. Can you talk a little bit about that and why did you do that?
Um, Initially moved from cruiser to sports bike. The cruiser was mostly for me, kind of. I mean, just riding around. I was enjoying the weather at the time. Just. I mean, I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
It was a different kind of ride.
right.
But the bike that I have, the Suzuki Hayabusa, was my dream bike growing up,
So what, but
and
what do you get? Okay, it was your dream bike, but what do you get on that sports bike that you couldn't get or didn't get on the cruiser?
it's a completely different experience riding a cruiser versus a sports bike. In particularly that bike, um, it's just a much different ride. You feel different. Your body positioning is different. For me, it's more comfortable on a sports bike
Yeah,
than on a cruiser, which a lot of people are the opposite. It's just more comfortable for me and a
that's
lot
that
more fun.
that's interesting, and I'm interested also because I'm your average middle-aged weekend rider, cruiser guy, kind of just tooling it out
Right.
around a little bit. But it sounds like, I mean, and I'm not familiar with the bike you're talking about at all, but this is a high performance machine that you're riding now, yeah?
Oh yeah, 1300.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. Let's see. Isaac, how much riding do you do? I mean, how often do you ride a week, or how much miles, or I mean, how many hours are you on that bike a lot?
I try and be as much as possible. Riding's kind of my getaway. So I probably put on maybe 120, 150 miles a week.
Yeah. But
Um,
do you use the bike for commuting, or this is for pleasure and for fun?
that's my pleasure. That's
Okay.
my wake up in the morning, I had a rough day or anything else. It's my get on my bike and go.
That sounds great. Um, Isaac, do you work on your bike? I mean, some people like to work on their bikes. Others, like me, don't know or don't know how. I mean, do you work on the bike?
I work on my bike for small things, oil changes. If I have something I'm changing out, like the brake levers or the shifting levers, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Other than that, if it's something that I'm not 100% sure how to do,
yeah,
actually, one of the people who taught my motorcycle safety course
yeah,
gave me his number, and he's a motorcycle mechanic.
yeah,
Who, you know, you go all to all the big dealerships, all the like Ride Now stuff like that. They're going to charge you through the roof for maintenance and everything else. But his goal was to kind of get himself out there for everyone,
yeah,
so that if someone needs some work on their bike, they can help him out,
yeah.
and he'll do it and show you how to do it, and walk you through it, which is it's been great. It's kind of more of a bond with your bike when
That,
you get to work on your own bike and have someone who knows what they're doing to help you.
that's great for a couple of different reasons. But your comment there about just when you're working on your bike, that bond you can have with the machine also, that's interesting. Um, Isaac, tell us about what do you wear when you ride? You're wearing a helmet? You're wearing any protective gear? What do you wear?
I always wear full gear, full helmet, um, full face helmets. Always wear my jacket, whether it's my leather jacket with the pads in it, or
Yeah,
whether it's my Kevlar jacket with the padding in it. Always wear long jeans, my motorcycle boots, everything top to bottom. I'm always covered. Always wear my gloves.
yeah.
I've seen too many riders go down and get really injured.
All the gear all the time, huh?
Exactly. If I'm
Okay,
getting on the bike and I'm pulling it out of my driveway, I'm getting fully geared.
okay, good. Isaac, you mentioned growing up a little bit, growing up around bikes, but what do your friends and your family members, what do they think about you as a motorcycle rider?
My mom is my mom, so she's moms are always going to be concerned about your safety and all that.
Sure.
My very first ride by myself, I actually had my uncle who rides in the car behind me,
Yeah.
kind of covering me and watching me how I do, and I think that kind of eased everyone's mind with my family, because my family on my mom's side and my dad's side both were a little worried about me being on a bike.
Yeah.
Um, but he was like, no, he does good. He rides safely. You guys don't have to worry about him as much. Which,
That's great and very interesting that you had a family member kind of chauffeuring you a little bit in a car on your
yeah.
first ride. Very cool. Um, Isaac, do you belong to any motorcycle organizations or clubs or anything?
No, not. I've talked to some clubs, just to one understand how the club scene is.
Yeah,
Riding with a club and riding by yourself or riding just with some friends are two miles and miles apart. They're two different things.
so I want to ask you about that, and let me just jump in here now. So when you ride, do you prefer, are you a solo rider? Do you prefer riding alone or riding with some friends?
Um, I I honestly like both. They both have their advantages and disadvantages. It just depends on what I'm looking for in my ride. If I'm looking for clarity, I'm looking for peace of mind. I had a long day, or something's going on in my life and I just want some peace, I'll go out for my ride just solo.
Yeah,
Other than that, if I'm just out having fun, I'm going to go hang out with some friends or something like that. Normally, we will stop and pick up at everyone's different house to pick them up on the ride,
I
and then
see.
we'll ride around until we stop.
That sounds cool
Um,
too. And my second question is, you just mentioned about the club scene, and I guess I've thought a little bit about it, about clubs and participating with other riders and stuff also. What is your impression of that scene without mentioning any specific clubs or anything, but it sounds like that you're a bit reluctant or not so interested in that scene.
Yeah, it's joining a club is very, first off, it's very political. For me personally, riding shouldn't be political. There shouldn't be any policies to riding or who could ride in what position. Um, there's a lot of different rules that come with being in a club,
Somebody,
and
sorry to
I'm
interrupt again,
just,
Isaac. Somebody
oh, you're
mentioned
good.
that to me yesterday or a couple of days ago, and they mentioned politics about clubs, and I didn't quite understand what they were talking about. But is that what you mean? You get into rules and who rides where and stuff like that? Is that what you mean
Yes,
by politics?
exactly. So normally in clubs, the first step is what's called a prospect, where you've been around the club for a little bit, but you haven't been actually in the club. They go, "Hey, you want to join part of the club?" And it's essentially like going into a new high school on your first day
Uh-huh.
and being the brand new freshman trying to play football with all the football players, and
I
they kind of give you a little hazing and
I
okay,
see.
cool, we're all at the bar, hey everyone, let's dip out, the prospect's paying for drinks,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
That's a good way of a good point of comparison with that high school and football team. But it sounds like it. I guess to some degree, sometimes the clubs or the groups can be a hassle too. That which is you know if you're a motorcycle rider, I mean the last thing you want, I think, is hassles and stuff interfering with what you want to do.
Exactly. Another thing with it is that with the motorcycle clubs, they're just on top of all of the policies and it being political and everything like that. You have to like pay to be in a club,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of time commitment to it that I wasn't willing to step forward and put that time commitment into a club.
Yeah, I see. Okay, great. That's all great information, Isaac, especially for people who wondered about that scene. Um, have you been to any motorcycle rallies, bike shows, things like that? Is that something that you've been interested in or doing in the future?
Oh, absolutely. I go to maybe one a year up here. We have bike week normally out in Scottsdale.
Yeah.
I have a couple different buddies from work or that I just know from riding that we'll all meet up and we'll all go out there and we just walk around and look at all the different bikes and
Yeah.
it's
Isaac,
always very fun.
what about a longer trip? I mean, I recently heard about the Republic of Texas. They have a big rally in Texas every year or something. I think it's in Austin. I actually thought about, oh, maybe I might drive out there in the future, but something like that, or of course the Sturgis big rally in Dakota. Is that something that you might be interested in the future or not really?
Oh, absolutely. I enjoy long rides on my bike. I've ridden to Sedona. I've ridden down to Tucson from here. I've ridden to California.
Yeah.
I've ridden around and I have no problems being on my bike for a long time. I think it'd be fun to do.
Okay.
Just for me, the timing hasn't been right with my work schedule, stuff like that.
Okay, good. Um, just a couple of more questions, Isaac. So one of the things we're getting into in the first part of our course is the why question and why people ride, and you've kind of answered it a little bit, I think. But what would you say? What is your primary motivation for riding? Why do you like it so much?
For me, it's a getaway. I can just be me on the bike in the road. I don't have to worry about anything else going on with my day. It's just it's kind of brings me clarity. It's kind of my place to not think
That's great.
about anything but the road, and it's
Yeah.
peace of mind.
I was reading something recently. Some people refer to the a motorcycle as an escape vehicle. So
Exactly.
it sounds like a little bit of what you're talking about. That's great. Final question. Maybe two more. Isaac, how would you identify yourself? Some people identify themselves in different ways. a biker, a rider, motorcyclist, motorcycle enthusiast? Any of those preferred for you?
I normally just say I'm a rider.
Yeah.
I go with that. I'm a rider.
Okay, good. And the last question is, do you have a favorite or a worst motorcycle experience you'd like to share?
Um, for me, I have a couple different favorites and a couple different
How
worst
about
experiences.
just give us a good favorite maybe to end off with?
Good favorite. Um, always for me, it's always been being on the back of my uncle's bike. The very first time I was on the back of my uncle's bike when I was probably like 5, it was the same exact bike that I own now.
Yeah.
So it's what started my love for motorcycles.
Yeah.
So I remember that ride clearly. It was amazing.
It sounds like you've made a big impression. And Isaac, what about in the past couple of years and on your new bike there? A particular
Yeah.
trip or something somewhere you went that, man, that was a great day or a great ride.
Always up to Sedona.
Yeah.
The ride from Phoenix to Sedona is a beautiful ride. It's fun. It doesn't take forever, and there's a couple different places we could stop on the way. But it's a nice ride. It's very beautiful up there, and the weather's almost always great in Sedona.
That's great. And I think I've been up to Sedona, but in a car. I think you've given me another place to add to my list of places to go to on a motorcycle.
Absolutely.
Isaac, great. Thanks for sharing your experiences and your views with us, and much appreciated.
Oh, thank you.